continue to fight against injustice, and working hard to create a world of peace, equality, and of freedom. We once again gather here in Lenasia, a community that was once a symbol of resistance and a symbol of hope and revolution, of ideas and of activism, of service to the people, as many of you come from that generation. A community who organized against apartheid South Africa and working hard to dismantle the structures of oppression and to organize our community for progressive politics to steer South Africa into a just future. Much, however, still needs to be done. And as we listen to the engagements tonight and this evening, it's important that we rise up to this occasion and to this current moment and help steer our country in the direction it deserves. It gives me the great privilege to direct the proceedings this evening, particularly because we have once again in our midst a guest, and a revolutionary guest at that, Sister Abir Zayed from Palestine, who is an archaeologist and a guide at Masjid Al-Aqsa, who we'll be hearing from soon. And as you can see, there's a presentation as well that will be delivered tonight. My name is Irfan Mangera, a youth activist and member of the PSA from this community. So let me welcome you all this evening to this gathering and thank the organizers, the Palestine Solidarity Alliance, Salam Media, as well as PIN, the Palestine Information Network, for hosting this. It comes in a time when apartheid Israel has unleashed the apartheid machinery and military might on Palestinians in Gaza. And just an hour ago, as we've been told by our friends from the media, over 21 people have been killed by apartheid Israel. Without wasting any more time, and apologies for the delay, load shedding has always created this kind of mess, but we persevere on. Let me introduce Sheikh Ibrahim Musa from the Palestine Information Network, who will be doing a tribute to Sheikh Qadir Adnan as a political prisoner and as someone who has recently passed on. Sheikh Ibrahim, the floor is yours.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very warm welcome to all of you this evening. 5 days from now, we will mark the 75th anniversary of the Nakba. And as persons who are living a very far distance away and several generations later, sometimes a question might occur to our minds on how did such a travesty, how did such a grave crime occur? I mean, it is not small or trivial indeed that 500 villages are depopulated, that 750,000 to 1 million Palestinians are dispossessed, 3/4 of the Palestinian people. How did something like this occur? And for us to understand the process that led to the Nakba and led to the normalization of the Nakba, we don't have to look back to 1917. We don't have to look back to the partition of 1948. We don't have to look back to the events around the Nakba in 1948. We don't have to look at the Naksa of 1967 or any of the other major milestones in Palestinian history. We just have to take a glance back to February of this year, when the man I've been asked to speak about this evening and pay tribute to was arrested for the final time in his life. In February this year, according to his wife, according to the esteemed wife of Qadir Adnan, Randa Musa, soldiers entered the home of Qadir Adnan, a 3-story home, and bombed the first 2 stories of the house as a way of inflicting terror and scaring the children of the house. They took the cupboards of the house, threshed them to the ground, took the shelves within the cupboards and emptied their contents, and they ripped all the couches of the home from the bottom. The Zionist commander at the time took the children of Qadir Adnan, 9 of them, and while keeping Qadir in one room, took the children to another room adjoining that room, and started shouting deliberately so that Khadr would hear what was being shouted to his children. They told his children, your father is a terrorist. Your father trades in blood. Your father sends people to kill Jews. Your father incites against Jews. And they made sure that Sheikh Khadr would listen to these particular words. Many of us might not be aware, and we might have thought that Sheikh Khadr Adnan had started his hunger strike the moment he was imprisoned in a physical prison and was behind the bars. But Sheikh Khadr had actually started his hunger strike that very moment when he saw these indignities that were being meted out to his family. Now, as we all very well know, last week, Tuesday, 1 week ago, Sheikh Khadr had passed away, and we do not know the exact circumstances of his death. But if we want to understand the process of the Nakba and how this Nakba has continued for 75 years without consequence, then we should look no further as an example to the death of Sheikh Khadr Adnan. How his death was allowed to pass without consequence. How we were amongst those who watched on and allowed this to happen. So to quickly run through a few milestones to emphasize how the Nakba and this chapter of the Nakba was written. In February, Sheikh Khadr Adnan was arrested. Thereafter, he endures all the indignities of being sent to an Israeli jail. In this process, he is in a hunger strike. His body is slowly wasting away. And week by week, he is getting weaker as he protests the spurious charges and the indictment brought against him. While we were celebrating Eid, on the 21st of April, Randa Musa, the wife of Sheikh Khadr Adnan, she hauls herself, she takes herself with the 9 children of Sheikh Khadr. And to appreciate this, the youngest child is 1.5 years. The oldest child is only 14. She takes them and bundles them up a 140-kilometer journey all the way from Jenin to Ramallah. And she organizes a sit-in because of the desperation of her plight. And because this is one woman who is now rendering the role of the head of the household so many times because of the repeated indignities sent against Sheikh Khadr Adnan. She's sitting on a plastic chair in the middle of downtown Ramallah, a few kilometers away from the Palestinian Authority headquarters. And she tells the world that we did not wake up here at dawn on this day of Eid simply to sit here on the sidewalk. We were here for the purpose of sending a message to the world. And the first question I ask is, did we hear that message? A few days later, on the 23rd of April, Dr. Lina Qasim from the Physicians of Human Rights visits Sheikh Khadr Adnan at the Ramla Prison Clinic for the final time. And Khadr Adnan tells her on the 23rd of April, this is 17 days ago, write down every word that I say. And his final words to her were, tell everyone that I have a right to live like any human being, and I want to go back to my children. The day later, Khadr Adnan has a military hearing that takes place virtually. And according to his wife, who looked at him at this point for the first time in these months, she says that he looked horrifying. His face was so pale, and the very few words he could say during that hearing were, I want to speak to my wife. And during this hearing, he faints and the screen goes black. He had low blood pressure, he had lost half of his weight. Before he passed away, he was vomiting blood, he was vomiting non-stop, and he just kept repeating the Shahada, La ilaha illallah. And everything he said, from his words, his murmurs, to the gestures of his body, and the actions of his body, his lawyer says he was really trying to say, please take me seriously. Did we take him seriously? To drive home the point, this was a man whose body cried out 6 times for major hunger strikes. 2004, 25 days. 2012, a major hunger strike, 66 days. 2015, 56 days. 2018, 58 days. 2021, 25 days, and the current one of over 80 days. His body, his stomach was inflamed. He was at the risk of internal bleeding. He had to go through surgeries on his stomach and his bowels and his intestines and his gallbladder because of the effect that these recurrent hunger strikes had taken. In his final will, Khadr Adnan had written that my fat had melted, my bones had disintegrated, my strength has waned. And the question again we ask, did we hear the cry of his deprived body as it cried for resuscitation? I want to conclude by saying this, that as a community, we have become used to reactions and hashtags and viral posts when Al-Aqsa is attacked, as it was dramatically in Ramadan, or when Gaza is bombed relentlessly, as it is done now and as we are seeing presently. But that approach is our undoing. Because when we only hear the large and the loud bombs, but we fail to see or hear the cries of the everyday war of occupation, we fail to see the faintings of the elderly at the checkpoints daily, we fail to hear the silent cries of a neighbor of Al-Aqsa who cannot enter the masjid that is barely 50 meters away. We fail to recognize the multiple roles that wives of the prisoners have to take on and the pain of separation that is endured with the greatest love and loyalty by the families of political prisoners. And indeed, as in the case of Sheikh Khadr Adnan, we fail to hear the creaking of the bones of thousands of political prisoners. A few thoughts in conclusion. Number one, this was a deliberate killing of Sheikh Khadr Adnan. He was in extreme pain, and yet he was forced to do strenuous activities. No doors were open for negotiation with him, and he was not allowed to move to a civilian hospital. We also see, number two, that this was the connivance of all segments of professional Israeli society, highlighting the need for a comprehensive and encompassing boycott of institutions and professionals in Israeli society. As Dr. Qasim said, that the medical teams in Israeli hospitals crossed a red line of medical ethics. They discharged Sheikh Khadr Adnan at a critical point and left him to die in prison because of political instructions from the Israeli government. And this is a huge violation of medical codes. We also acknowledged as point number three that we failed Sheikh Khadr Adnan, but we need not fail, and we dare not fail, with the 4,900 other political prisoners still in Israeli jails. Khadr Adnan fought a determined fight in his previous hunger strikes against administrative detention. At this point, the number of administrative detainees is at its highest point in 20 years, standing today at 1,016. This might also shock us, but point number four is that Sheikh Khadr Adnan's first hunger strike, it might come as a surprise to us, was not against the Israeli authorities, but it took place more than 22 years ago in Jericho, when he went on a hunger strike against the torture and the mistreatment in the Palestinian Authority jails. And last year, in February, Sheikh Khadr Adnan, by his own words, was targeted in a drive-by shooting in Nablus, which he said was an attempt by the Palestinian Authority to remove him from the public arena. The second last point is that the struggle for dignity continues. Sheikh Khadr has passed away, but his body was moved to the Abu Kabir facility, which is the only institute in Israel allowed to perform autopsies. And he joins a huge number of Palestinians, either kept in freezers or being sent to the so-called cemeteries of the dead, and are not returned to their families. I will, though, sound off on an optimistic note, and that is that although the body, the deceased body of Sheikh Khadr Adnan has not been afforded the dignity of being returned to his family, they still may imprison his body. But even by our belief and our aqidah, they will never imprison his soul. And Ashira Darwish, a researcher, says that freedom means, this is freedom for Sheikh Khadr Adnan because he has left the body that they had destroyed, the physical structure that they had destroyed. She said that on one occasion, when she sought to congratulate Sheikh Khadr Adnan and asked him, how do you do this? How do you go through such a rigorous struggle for dignity? And his response to her was, I have yaqeen, I have faith in Allah, and referencing the Islamic belief in the certainty that Allah will protect you. And she also says, when their freedom is taken away, and this is why he was victorious at the end, and why the Palestinian people will be victorious at the end, even when their freedom is taken away from them in the most absurd way, these Palestinian political detainees still manage to prove that they are the ones who choose how and where they will be free. And in choosing to exercise control over his own fate in life and in death, Sheikh Khadr Adnan remains free. I'll conclude finally with these words, where Sheikh Khadr Adnan has a degree in economic mathematics, but he wasn't allowed to practice in these fields because of the continuous Israeli assaults on him, and therefore he set up a small bakery in his hometown. And when he was asked about, what a lofty role you are playing to inspire other Palestinian prisoners, and you're part of this great movement for hunger striking, his words were in utter humility. And I testify to his humility, having met him at Masjid Al-Aqsa in 2017. Sheikh Khadr Adnan says about his work as a baker, I work at a bakery and I sell za'atar, and will continue to do so, to remind every Palestinian that their roots are deeply entrenched in this land, among the olive trees and the za'atar. Jazakallah khair.
What more is there to say after such an impassioned tribute to the great Sheikh, who I think we must draw a lesson from and take the message, but also the important reflections Hafiz Ibrahim has shared here, because solidarity for us cannot mean that we just attend an event, but it has to transfer into that kind of boycott campaign, into the kind of solidarity to person solidarity with the Palestinians, and whatever it is we can offer to influence change locally, but for a greater cause of liberating Palestine. I'd like to call now Inayat Wadi from Salam Media, who will be delivering an address about why we are gathered here today, and thereafter introduce our guest speaker. Inayat.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening to everybody. Up front, would like to, on behalf of Salam Media, to thank both the Palestinian, the PSA, and also the PIN for partnering with us on this journey of Abir Zayat tonight, and also throughout the country. As far as Salam Media is concerned, when Salam Media was first established, the term humanitarian journalism was coined. And there was a specific reason as to why the directors at that point in time, and I see Shamshir Khan here and Azarbadi as well, had coined the term humanitarian journalism. And it was for one simple reason: to use our voices in the media to stand up against injustice and to stand up for the truth. And uppermost in our minds has been the struggle of Palestine, as the struggle has been for well over 7 decades. And we see 75 years of the Nakba that will be commemorated comes the 15th of May. And indeed, it is just wonderful to see someone with the stature, the profile of Sister Abir Zayad with us at a time like this, at a defining moment. But what it is more important for us to understand is Salam Media has used our voices in more ways than one. And at the same time, inspire the thousands of activists, thousands of people through our voice at Salam Media, our listenership, our viewership, and to highlight the plight of the oppressed people right across the entire world. To a large extent, our focus has been on Palestine. And this is the reason why Abir Zayad is here today. This is the reason why this campaign is taking place. It is a short campaign, but we want to maximize as far as this campaign is concerned, and to reach out to as many people as possible across all sections of South African society. And the visits during this campaign have been strategically been scheduled. And these includes public gatherings like the one we're having this evening, but also at the same time to inspire future generations. And during her tour, Abir Zayad has already started visiting a number of schools to reach out to the young generation to keep the struggle of Palestine alive. And I was at a function at the Kurtuba Academy, and I was amazed at the knowledge of young children at primary school level, and the questions that they had raised regarding Palestine. So in South Africa, coming from the struggle that we have, I must say we are in a very, very good space, looking at future generations and to keep the struggle of Palestine alive until, inshallah, and when we will see in our lifetime the freedom of Palestine, inshallah. Also at the same time, looking at universities, looking at business forums, looking at ladies groups, and also looking at people that matter in our society. We're looking at the ulama bodies. We had the opportunity of meeting the Jamiatul Ulama with Maulana Bam and his team. We will be meeting up with people like the Jamiatul Ulama in KwaZulu-Natal, the MJC in Cape Town. And these are people, and as I mentioned, across all sections of society where Sister Abir Zayad, through her experience, and her experience speaks volumes. She has been an educational tour guide. She has been the director of the Jerusalem branch of the Society for the Protection of Nature. She has been a teaching assistant at the Department of Archaeology at Al-Quds University. She's been a free guide, and many will bear testimony to that fact. Many who have been even as recent in the month of Ramadan to perform the itikaf have met Sister Abir Zayad. So this is a service that she offers, and also being the director of the Arab department of the David Saitadal Museum, the archaeological expert that she is with the Jerusalem Affairs Department from 2010 until now, and also looking at all the other work that she does, the NGOs, the chairperson of the Women's Center of the Al-Tur Silwan, and all of this puts Sister Abir Zayad in a very, very good space in terms of what she will be bringing tonight, the value that she will be adding to the discussion. And some of the objectives that we are looking at achieving, hopefully, is to look at the socio-political and humanitarian conditions of the inhabitants of Jerusalem in particular, the historic awareness of Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa Mosque, tips also for touring Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa. And this is the reason why the call out of Al-Quds, why the call out of Jerusalem has been, come to Aqsa, come and visit us so that you can see for yourself. and also at the same time on how we can play our role and contribute towards the causes, the various charitable causes that Sister Abir and many others in Al-Quds are undertaking. So without much ado, this has been a brief introduction, but I'm sure Sister Abir, her second visit to South Africa, she was here in 2017, and we want to thank one person, and this is a legend in Muslim media, and he's been a legend for a very, very long time. Today, we want to pay tribute. We want to remember none other than Marhum Ibrahim Gangat Rahimahumullah. He was one of the first persons who met Sister Abir Zayad in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And when he came back to South Africa, he told us at Salam Media, this is one person we need to link up with. And since that meeting, Sister Abir has been here in 2017. She's here again. And on a regular basis, to get an update out of Al-Aqsa, we at Salam Media have relied on Sister Abir to provide us with the latest developments, the latest information, and this is what we are able to bring to our audience on the various platforms of Salam Media. And with that, I thank you, Mr. Program Director, for giving me this opportunity to introduce our esteemed guest, Abir Zayad.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, Jazakumullahu khairan for your coming, and I hope that today I will be able to give you little information about Al-Aqsa Mosque. Before I start explaining and discussing about Al-Aqsa Mosque, I would like just to speak about two notes, please. The first one, I would like to thank the Minister of Affairs in South Africa, Neldi Boundor, for her statement today about what is happening in Gaza and the people who was killed in Palestine. And also, I would like you to remember that there is another prisoner that now he's in a very bad situation and need your help for his freedom. Otherwise, he will be die. This prisoner, his name is Walid Daqqa, and he spent now 37 years in jail, and he have a cancer. He's supposed to be released before 2 years from now, but they add more time to his time in jail because they found a phone with him. He have a small child, and he's in a very bad situation. His wife is asking everybody to try to help her, to help him to be released and to have the medication very quickly. So please do not forget about Walid Daqqa and try to do what you can for release Walid Daqqa from jail. So, Al-Aqsa Mosque. For me as a person, Al-Aqsa Mosque is a place that I grew up in it. It's not just a mosque for me, it's my life. So this is why I choose to start the representation with a photo from my childhood inside Al-Aqsa Mosque with my sisters, two of my sisters in fact, and my brother. My brother Ibrahim, in this photo, after this photo, in this age, they tried to kidnap him, to kill him. And in this age, I fight alone to protect him in the street of the old city, just outside of Al-Aqsa Mosque. He survived in that day. But when he grew up little, they shoot him in his head inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque. He fight also and continue. He was in prison when he was a child. And there is another two photos for him, one inside after they beat him inside one of the police station, and the second one from this Laylat al-Qadr when they tried to attack the Al-Aqsa Mosque from Cotton Gate, and he was one of the people who tried to protect, and as you see they broke his hand in that night. So this is just a short to see what is the life and how to grow up inside the old city. So since you're born till the day of your death, you are in a fight, in a jihad for protecting Al-Aqsa Mosque. So this is the life of Jerusalemite people, and this is how and why Al-Aqsa Mosque is everything for us. If you look to the second slide, you can see one of our priests that are beating in front of the Holy Sepulchre Church. And you can see also one of our women that they try to demolish her home and how they take off her headdress and how they are beating her. The third photo is from last Ramadan, when they arrested more than 600 youth from inside Al-Aqsa Mosque while they was praying and sleeping, making i'tikaf inside Al-Aqsa, and they arrested all of them. So when they arrested these 600 youth, these youth was able to keep some of their phones with them because there was a lot of them in that arresting. So they was able to take photos inside the bus that they was arrested in. So if you look to their hands, the cuffs is in their hands, and they are smiling. All these guys, when they released, we discovered that all of them was released with the broken bones. Even when they take this photo, they was already, their bones was broken. One of them is my nephew, and when he released, he was a broken nose, broken ribs, and a broken hand. So this is how our youth do. For us, Al-Aqsa Mosque is everything. As you see, this is the boundary of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Al-Aqsa Mosque is not a building. It's different than any other mosque in the world. Al-Aqsa Mosque is a land. Inside this land, we have more than 300 buildings. All of them is part of Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Dome of the Rock and the Qibli, which is the most famous building inside Al-Aqsa Mosque, it's just apart from the mosque. Each inch in this place, each place you try to pray there is a place of one of the prophets. So all these boundary is Al-Aqsa Mosque. So what the Israeli are planning for it? So you see, the Israeli have a lot of plans since the 1967 or even before, since they start the Zionist movement. They have a goal and they put it, that to take over Al-Aqsa Mosque, because all their propaganda and all their justification for this occupation is depend on their story and that they was in Palestine, and that for excuse like that, they want to take over Al-Aqsa Mosque. So since the beginning of the occupation in 1967, as you see in 1969, we have the fire. So this, the movie behind it, after it, please, you can run the movie. This movie is speaking about the fire that was done by a person. His name is Michael Rohan, Dennis Michael Rohan. This person, that he's an Australian Zionist that started a fire inside Al-Aqsa Mosque, and that fire damaged, as you see in the video, most of the Qibli building inside Al-Aqsa. This fire, the Israeli municipality cut the supply of water in Al-Aqsa Mosque during the fire, did not allow it for firemen to come from the Jerusalem municipality. The firemen came from Bethlehem, from Ramallah, and arrived before the firemen that was in Jerusalem to stop the fire. This is just a damage that it started. You know, in that night, the president of Israel was Golda Meir. She thought, and she said that she did not sleep in that night because she said that she was expecting that she will not wake up with existing Israel because of this fire. She thought that the Muslims, that the Arab will stand, that they will do something for Al-Aqsa Mosque. She said, after I wake up and I find Israel still exists, I know that nothing will move them after that. So this fire, it was like, I think that you see what they can do for Al-Aqsa Mosque. Of course, Michael Rohan was released because as normal, he's crazy. So he was released from jail. So as you see, the damages inside Al-Aqsa Mosque is continuous. Till today, we have a lot of damages that it's happening inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque, mainly because of the tunnels that they are digging underneath it. So if you can run the second video, please. We will not see all this video, but I would like you to look to this video and to see some of the tunnels that they are digging underneath and around Al-Aqsa Mosque. These tunnels started since the British occupation, trying to find any archaeological evidence to justify the occupation. Until today, they was not able to find anything. The oldest thing that they was able to find it in these tunnels underneath of Al-Aqsa Mosque and around it go back to Roman time. They was not able to find anything older than that to make it as an excuse to demolish Al-Aqsa Mosque. But even that, they make these tunnels deep, very much underneath of Al-Aqsa Mosque. And even like this person, which is an Israel archaeologist, he's speaking about these tunnels and what the damages that they are doing and why they are doing that. And he said that there is no justice in the way of the excavation, and it's not a real archaeological excavation, is more a political thing that's run by the Israel government, and they release what they want to release only from these information. So at the end, these tunnels is making the foundation of Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Muslim quarter around it weak. So with any earthquake, a lot of damages will be happen to the mosque and to the people around it. And where you need to know that the people around it are offered millions to leave their homes, and they know that their homes will be collapsed on them in any earthquake, but they refuse to sell it. They prefer to be buried underneath of their homes than to sell it to the Israeli and left Al-Aqsa Mosque. So these part from the sign where the tunnel is going. So if you can go to the second. So the one behind you after. So the main goal for the Israeli is to demolish Al-Aqsa Mosque completely and to build instead the temple. So the plan of the temple, as you see, that they want to build it in the place of Al-Aqsa Mosque, and mainly they want to take over the Dome of the Rock is one of the main priority. So they make a lot of plans to do that. So one of the plans, which was in the 90s, it was to build a synagogue in the place of Al-Marwani. And on top of it, this is the entrance of Al-Marwani. You see the plan that was having a building in that area and to take all the underground. Of course, in that time, they tried to force Abu Ammar to sign on that things, but of course, Abu Ammar refused that. And some of us believe that this was the reason why he was killed. So this video may give you what we as a Jerusalemite and as a Muslims in Palestine, what we had done. All of us, we gather ourselves and we start renovating in Marwani immediately. We open the gate that you can run the video. So people gather themselves from all over Palestine. And as you see, all of them work hard voluntarily inside the building and they fix it. You can see now, most of you, when they come to I'tikaf, they are staying in this place. And you can see this is how the people work inside it to reopen it and to make it suitable for people to pray again. You can see how many people was working at once. When I was a child, when we was entering to that place, it was very dark and there was no even breathing there. So we were, and as a child, I would never imagine the huge place that we have. But when we hear that they want to do this synagogue, we take immediately action and we open it. And you can see in this video how many people was working. That was amazing for us. And since that time, we are using that place again. Of course, this place was, the foundation is going back to Roman time, 30 BC, and the roof had been renovated in the time of Abd al-Malik bin Marwan around 691 AD. And this is why we call this place Al-Marwani, because of Abd al-Malik bin Marwan. So this is how Al-Marwani look like today. So this is, you can run the video. Of course, most of you who came to I'tikaf, oh no, this is not the Marwani. Just 1 minute. No, it's the Marwani. So most of you who came to I'tikaf, they had been in this place, they seen it, they sleep in it, because most of the people from South Africa, they came to Al-Aqsa Mosque in Ramadan, they sleep in this place. So this is some of the footage. It's of course the Marwani is the biggest basement that open for public inside Al-Aqsa Mosque. And the Marwani is very important also because we believe that the chamber of Maryam alayha salam is inside this place. So there is more plans that Israel are doing, and one of the plans also it started from the Moroccan gate. This is how the Moroccan gate before the new bridge that was putting, and you can see because of the digging, they continue digging underneath it till this bridge is collapsed. Nowadays, the bridge is from wood, and there is now a problem between Israel and UNESCO and Jordan about rebuilding this bridge, because Israel wants to rebuild it, a huge one that the military vehicles can enter inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque immediately, and Jordan and UNESCO want to rebuild it small like it was and enough for normal people to enter, not vehicles. So the bridge till today is from wood, but even that, they still having a lot of plans for this place. So if you can go to the one before it just. Yes. So as you see, this is one of the plans for the Moroccan area and how they want to build a bridge and also another floor to use it as a synagogue. This is one of the idea how to start the temple inside Al-Aqsa Mosque. The other plan is how to take all the underneath of the mosque from the western side, and also to take up the museum and the library and the area around it from Al-Aqsa to build a synagogue there and to start a temple in that place. So this is one of the plan, but other they have a different plan. So if we can go not to this one, continue. As you see, this is one of the plans that they put it, that these where is inside the red is the most important place that they want to take it at first, as the first stage. So if you can, the second slide. You see, here is more explanation, and the third one is like that. So the plan is to take from the Bab al-Rahma and to make a bridge from Bab al-Rahma to take all the area next to the Dome of the Rock, and that will be the synagogue or the temple. And that in the Jewish holiday, it will be the whole mosque for them. And in our holiday, the whole mosque, it will be for us. But if it's come the time that two holidays in the same time, it will be, of course, for the Jewish holiday. And that they will keep for us the Qibli, just in normal day. And the rest of the mosque, it will be taken by them. This is one of the plans that now these Zionist movement for temple are doing it. And one of the people who are speaking about this plan and the other plan, his name is, sorry, I forget his name. I will remember it now. But this guy, he's bringing a lot of groups from South Africa to Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they enter as a settlers with the protection of Israel as part from the settlers and the temple movement inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And if you go to his website, and I can send it for you, you can see some of the African, South African, from Kenya, other African that they are supporting him and being with him inside Al-Aqsa Mosque as part from the groups of the settlers and the Zionists that they are asking for demolishing Al-Aqsa Mosque. So, can you run, please? So, Bab al-Rahma is one of the main places now that we have the fight. As you know, in the 90s, they decide to close Bab al-Rahma. And they say that they do not like the activity that we have it in that place. And most of that activity was a summer camps. And me, myself, I was in these summer camps when I was a child. And I know how much it was nice thing to do for the children, and I learned a lot of artifacts things and a lot of nice games even inside that place. So they close it and they start using the place to try to pray and to try to take it. Since 2000 they start coming these groups and try to take it. So of course before a few years we decide that we need to open this mosque after it was closed for almost 16 years. So as you see, people from Jerusalem, they was able to enter and to break the door and to enter inside that building. And we reopen it again and we start praying in that area. Of course, it takes us a lot of time because each day, each person was opening this place, he was arrested from the Israeli army. So at the end, families start volunteer to open it because we does not have enough guard. All our guard become arrested or abandoned from entering to the mosque. So families start sending one of their family member each day to open the place, and each one open it. When he go out the stairs, he make his hand like that because the police is already waiting for him to put the cuffs in his hand and to arrested him. And we continue doing this long month till they stop arresting the one that they open the place. But even that, after we succeed, they fight a lot to stop us from using the place. As you see, thousands and thousands of people was there to open it. And we was so proud with this reopening. And you see, these small victories is very important for us in Jerusalem. But from archaeological point of view, Bab al-Rahma and al-Marwani is one from the oldest archaeological stuff that you can find it inside Al-Aqsa Mosque. As you see, it's very beautiful building. It's going back to Roman time, 30 BC. And this gate, which is amazing, it was exist in the time of some of the prophets, Zakaria alayhi salam, Yahya alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam. And the Christian believe that this is the gate that Isa alayhi salam entered to Jerusalem from it. And they call it the Golden Gate. And it's really is a golden one, it's a very beautiful one. And in top of it also, we have the dome where Imam al-Ghazali was sitting when he wrote his book, Ihya Ulum al-Din. So there is a lot of historical thing about this gate, which is a very, very beautiful gate. As you see how they was arresting our guards from there. You see, this is my colleague when they arrested him. So they all the time was arresting the people. And we thought that the thing become better. But even that after we thought the thing is become better, we, in the last few days, they re-attacked the Bab al-Rahma, especially after Ramadan. And they start again attacking the people. They take all the equipment that we have it inside, and they damage the electricity. And even at the one of the arresting, it was for a foreigner tourist from Turkey. She was sitting next to Bab al-Rahma and she was reading Quran. And just because she was reading Quran there and the Zionists want to pass from there, it was enough reason to arrested her. You see the damages that they do it after Ramadan. So this is a new damages that they do it after Ramadan inside Bab al-Rahma. And now in the video, you're supposed to see the Turkish girl when they arrested her just because she was reading Quran inside in front of the place in the time that the Zionist was moving. If you can run it a little. More. Yeah, this is the Turkish girl when they arrested her. So all of this, it was happened after Ramadan as a kind of another time for fighting for Bab al-Rahma. Can you have the other slide, please? This slide is how the Aqsa was look like in the time of early Islamic, especially in the time of Bani Umayyah. And you can see that the main building was the Dome of the Rock and the Qibli was double size of the one that we have it today. And also you can see the palaces around the mosque, and one of the palaces have an entrance directly from the second floor where the bedrooms to the Qibli next to the mihrab. So think who have this privilege to enter from his bedroom to the mihrab. So this was in the time of Bani Umayyah. Do you have anything? So there is a lot of history about the place, and there is a lot of things to speak about it, and also a lot of things to speak about the struggles that we have inside. I try just to give you a small clue about the place, but I will be hoping that to answer all your questions now that you have from archaeological, historical, or about how is the life and what is going on inside Jerusalem, especially inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Don't forget they demolished from yesterday till today more than 4 buildings inside Jerusalem. And we are expecting that in the 18th of this month, that it will be a very, very hard day on Jerusalemite.
Thank you so much. I think that presentation, I'm not sure if it's shareable with those who want it, but we are going to open up an opportunity to those who attended to ask any questions. So for the next 10 minutes, we'll have a round of questions that you can direct to any of the organizations or our guest, and I'll facilitate for that before we go into closure. We don't want to keep people. We do know some have traveled, but also the night is quite cold. So the last opportunity now is for questions. Can I get a sense of hands? Any hands to note questions? Nothing? Okay, noted the hand.
Jazakallah. Since there's no hands, I thought let me put up mine. Yeah, there's been excellent presentations. I have some thoughts that emanate from Sheikh Ibrahim Musa's presentation. One is we need to start, especially our journalist fraternity, to start taking charge of the narrative on Palestine. It was alluded to in Sheikh's talk that we are reactionary. I think the type of issues that we need to show up in those alternative narratives is to present the truth the way it is and not fear consequences of what we're going to call it. Because the Israeli defense to any criticism will be anti-Semitic, so to speak. But examples can be gone into, and I don't want to take time. The other issue is like we fall into the trap of personifying the prisoners. It might be a strategy, but I think we need to call for the release of all prisoners and make this an international call and start using the narratives that become familiar with the narratives of the apartheid era. Because the Israelis are so sharp in language to twist truth and facts and play with terminologies to set minds. They call it administrative detention. In the days of apartheid, it was detention without trial. And that's what it is. And we need to get the international community, one way or another, to focus on these justice issues and put pressure on them to call for the justice that's needed in Palestine. I'll leave it at those two things.
Shukran. Any other hands? Was that a hand? Oh. No. I don't know if there's a response from yourself. No. Okay.
The narrative issue is a big issue because there is a lot of things is influence on the narrative, especially that even in our religion we have a lot of Israeliyat that enter inside religion, and we need to take it off to be able to also to discuss our narrative in a correct way. So it's not an easy. Today, for example, we hear a new news about an Israeli historian that have a new book say that there is nothing called Jewish nationality or something like that. So we know that this book that he wrote, it will not be allowed to be published in Israel occupation. So we know that they does not want people to discuss about all these narrative and the mistakes that in the historical event that they spoke about it, all the story that they say it. It's completely different than archaeology. Archaeology is saying a complete different story about the history of Palestine. And we need to go through it and to study it in a correct way and to be able to write a real narrative depending on archaeological artifacts that we find it. About our prisoners, of course, we would like to have all our prisoners free. As a person that I've been in prison before, and I've been in isolation, I can know exactly what to be inside prison. And also I know exactly about the hunger strike because my husband been in it for 3 months before. So I know this. I feel about each prisoner. Each prisoner, I imagine what my husband had to go through inside jail. Even Walid Daqqa, he was in the same cell with my husband for long years. And when my husband was released from jail, the first person was waiting for him at the entrance of the jail. It was Sana, the wife of Walid, to take him back home because they released him in a different date that they supposed to be released, and at night and in Ramadan. So, and they take him to a very, very, very far prison before they released him, just to make it hard for the family, even in the day of release. So I understand this, and I would be glad, like all the Palestinians. It's one of our dreams to have all our prisoners free. And this is something that it needs a lot of power, a lot of understanding from the world, a lot of justice to have this done. Even our prisoners that are in the political prisoner in jail, even if they have a court, the court is not a justice court. It's an apartheid court that is, there is no justice in it at all. A Zionist can't kill a Palestinian and not spend 1 day in jail. So there is no justice at all in this apartheid system that we are living in. Also, before you ask some more question, I hope that you have more question. That Brother Anaya had asked me to mention about also the humanity work that is inside Jerusalem, and how you can run your humanity work and your help when you come or when you want to work inside Jerusalem. So inside Jerusalem, you have more than one way to help. First of all, if you want to help for Al-Aqsa Mosque itself, the maintaining of Al-Aqsa Mosque, you have special boxes inside. One is inside the Dome of the Rock and one inside the Qibli, a big one that you can put the donation in it. But also you have offices next to the Dome of the Rock up in the upper level, and you can take receipt from the administration representative in Al-Awqaf department with a receipt from them. If you want to help inside Jerusalem, you need to make sure that the charity that you are working with, it's a Palestinian charity, and to make sure that it's registered as a Palestinian charity. Otherwise, you will be working with an Israeli charity, and this is not good at all. So you need to make sure that you are working with a Palestinian registered charity. And if you need any help in that, I will be more than glad to help you. And also, when you work with any charity, to get your receipt. Of course, a lot of you, when you come, you will be surprised with the prices inside Jerusalem and how much is expensive. To understand the differences of the prices inside Palestine, because as you see, because of the apartheid system, like you was in the apartheid, that each group are living alone, different rules, different stuff. So it's exactly in Palestine. So for example, the falafel sandwich in Gaza, you can get it with 2 shekels. In Ramallah, you can get it with 7 shekel. In Jerusalem, you can get it with 15 shekel. So the prices is completely different. And the law for Jerusalem in everything is completely different. So you need to be aware about that and to know that this is part from the policy to make the people in Jerusalem having a difficult to live and to transfer them from Jerusalem. So I know that it will be sometimes difficult to do a humanity work inside Jerusalem, but you need to try your best to do it. When you come, you can separate your money between the West Bank and Jerusalem, but does not forget Jerusalem. So try to work your part, at least from your humanity work inside Jerusalem. And as I said, do it with the Palestinian charity, take your receipt, involved in that. And you can also do it immediately by yourself. There is also in Jerusalem Maqasid Hospital, which is a Palestinian Islamic charity hospital, that a lot of Gaza people who are patient came to that hospital. So also if you would like to help them, you go directly to the hospital. There is a social worker there that it will help you to be able to get your fund in a correct way and in effective way to the patient. Of course, also inside Jerusalem, when you come, as we said, there is a lot of tour guide, but we also offer a free tour guide for all the Muslims that they are coming to Al-Aqsa and to the old city. So I hope that you will take that as a way to make it easier for you to come to Al-Aqsa Mosque. You're coming to Al-Aqsa Mosque is very important. We also make a list of the names of the Palestinian hotels inside Jerusalem, so it will be much easier for you to choose your hotel and the place that you can spend your time inside Jerusalem, and it will be giving to Salam Media and other organization to be presented for you. So if you need any help in these things, also we are willing to help you. We are there to serve the visitor for Al-Aqsa Mosque. So do you have one more questions?
This will be the last question.
Thank you. My question to you is, do you think they will succeed? And is the Muslim world or the Arab world going to show an indifference? What's your opinion?
If they will succeed to build the temple, you mean?
Yeah, and take over the whole compound, the whole Masjid al-Aqsa complex. Yeah.
Maybe they will succeed, but it will be after our death. We as a Jerusalem people will never accept something like that to happen while we are alive. So our life is before something like this happen. All of us in Jerusalem, we are offering our life to protect the place. And I think what happened in 2017 was a proof for that. There is a new minister in the Israeli government. His name is Smotrich. He say that the Palestinians have 3 options. One is to accept that they are slaves. The second, to take money and to transfer, to leave the country. And the third option, to be killed. And he say that does not worry about the Islamic world or Arabic world or national world. They will be mad for 1 week or 2, and after that they will forget. Like what they forget what we had done in 1948. This is a minister, and he say it on the TV. So,
Thank you. Here's the last question for the evening.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran jazilan for your presentation. It was very, very insightful. My question has to do with regards to what we had seen in the year 2021, while there was again incursion attempts at Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak by the Zionists. Then we had seen Palestinians at Masjid al-Aqsa calling for support from Gaza. And the people in Gaza answered by sending rockets against the Zionists because they are not collaborators like the Palestinian Authority, which assists the Zionists in maintaining a stranglehold on the masjid. So I would like your opinion to ask, what is the current status in relationship between what is happening at Al-Aqsa and Gaza, and for example, the type of collaboration that we are seeing by the hypocrites from the Palestinian Authority? Shukran.
First of all, I think you have a big misunderstanding about the real situation in Palestine. So you can't say about one that they are a traitor or hypocrite. It's not like that. There is a lot of things that you as a foreigner, you does not know it through our daily life. And a lot of our fighters that from Gaza or from the West Bank that had been killed in the last few months, for example, if you go to all of them, you will find a big number from them are a police officer or members from the Palestinian Authority. So it's not a justice to say that about all of the people who are from the Palestinian Authority. So this thing is so offended, especially for the people who lost their life and their family, that they lost their life in defending Al-Aqsa Mosque and defending Palestine. So there is a lot of a problem between the Palestinian political party, and sometimes some of the media tell you things which is some of it is truth, some is not. So to make opinion, to make a statement against a whole political party is not a correct way to do it. We as a Palestinian, we have a lot of problems because of the interfering of other country in our political party. And sometimes the political party, they act and the leader of them, they act in a different way. And also the media are controlled. So you need to know that a lot of our fighters are also from other political party. For example, today, the people who sent rockets from Gaza and they was bombed because of they was sending rockets and was killed was from Jabha Sha'biyya. So they are not from Hamas, and they are part, Jabha Sha'biyya are part from the Palestinian Authority. Also, Fatah was also participate in sending rockets today on Israeli. Also, what is happening in Nablus and Jenin, most of the fighters there are from Fatah. So you can't put this in this way. It's so humiliated for the people who lost their life. So we need you to at least to try not to be involved a lot about the problems, internal problems as a Palestinian, and to keep supporting the Palestinian as all. Because we in Al-Aqsa Mosque, none of us look to this. None of us ask you if you are Fatah or Hamas or Jabha. All of us, we fight together against the occupation. And we need your support for us as a Palestinian, as a whole Palestinian, to be able to continue fighting against the occupation and to be united between ourselves against the occupation. All these things that is making problems between the Palestinians themselves, it will cause just things which serve the occupation, not serve the Palestinian cause.
Shukran. I think there's a few more announcements that need to be made, but officially to thank you, Sister Abir, for being here with us, for sharing what you have, and for the presentation. I think the rest of the tour, if this is anything to go by, will really inform South Africans on their role and what they can do to support and how that humanitarian work can help within Jerusalem and across Palestine. I think there is a few announcements, so I'm going to ask Inayat to please come, or Uncle Inayat, I don't know if you prefer that. to do that before we do a closing prayer, and then we obviously thank everyone.
Assalamu alaikum once again. You can call a spade a spade. Well, just looking at obviously what we have witnessed tonight with the presentation, and there's a lot more that we will be doing over the next few days. So I just needed to inform the audience here, and we know that this broadcast is going out live on the various platforms of Salam Media. So for those who are watching and who are listening to us, tomorrow we will be in Pietermaritzburg, and this is going to be a ladies' event, and thereafter we will be heading over to Durban, and the Durban branch of the Palestinian activists will be hosting us, and we will also be meeting up with the likes of the Jamiatul Ulama, visiting one of the schools as well in the morning. On Saturday, we then proceed towards Cape Town. There's a 3 days of events that will be taking place in Cape Town, and meeting with the activists, meeting with the Muslim Judicial Council, and also the Al-Quds Foundation. And that will culminate on the 15th of May with the Nakba, the 75-year commemoration of the Nakba. And thereafter, we are heading to Port Elizabeth. And this is encouraging to note that we are going right across the entire country and to provide as much exposure as possible, as I alluded to earlier on as well, across all sections of society, and also not only focused with the Muslim community, but also looking at many other apartheid activists in the country. There are many that show solidarity with Palestine as well, and this includes the likes of politicians. So hopefully over the next few days, right until the 18th, when Sister Abir leaves the shores of South Africa, we will continue providing coverage, and all of that is available on Salam Media, on our online channels, on our YouTube channel, on the social media channels as well. So if you want to, obviously, if you require updates, and also looking at Sister Abir and what she will be saying throughout her entire tour here in South Africa, you can follow us. So from Salam Media as well, I've been asked to convey our appreciation, our thanks once again to the PSA, to the PIN, and also to the audience for availing yourselves this evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Shukran, Uncle Inayat. We are wrapping up the evening, so to thank all of you for coming, but to take the message that was shared today. It's not enough that we get emotional about the many deaths. The question that was asked is, are you listening to the cries? What are you doing about those cries that you are listening to? How are we acting on that? And we respect and understand that there are many issues. Primarily, local issues here have taken a bad turn, and how we solve for them equally is about solidarity, about building unity, and ensuring that there's action behind the words that we say we stand by. So I encourage that for those who can't actively participate, donate. There's donation boxes. For those that can't actually engage consistently, there are once-off campaigns. There are campaigns that just require you to post and to engage those in your spaces about this, so that the message can be carried well beyond this community and many other communities that are being visited. This message has to transcend to South Africa as a whole, and has to ensure that we transcend the barriers of race, of religion, of all the community barriers that were created to divide us. And that, again, comes to the idea around the reactionary approach. It's important that the approach we take as those in the solidarity space is one of proactive engagement. It's quite disheartening for me as a person who's also going into the political space now, that the solidarity movement is as it is today. It requires greater unity, and the only people who do that are yourselves, who are part and parcel and who believe that justice needs to be fought for. With that, let me thank Salam Media as a partner for always ensuring that we are covered through the journalists who are deployed, but more so from again, creating the narrative that showcases the truth from the voices who need to be showcased. To thank the PIN, Palestine Information Network, for your contributions today and for ongoing work. I do encourage everyone here today, the least that you can do is from this moment, ensure that you follow each of these organizations, because you will get daily updates, in fact, from the PIN, for example, who will update you on what's happening in Jerusalem, in Gaza, and everywhere else that you can get updates from. Thank you so much, and we do hope and wish you all safe travels back home. In closing, I'd like to call Sheikh Ibrahim Nakabinde to perform the prayer and dua, which will then allow us to please respect this moment and let us depart accordingly. Thank you.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. اللهم اغفر للمرحومين، اللهم اغفر للمرحومين، اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم وسكنهم في الجنة. اللهم اجعل قبورهم روضة من رياض الجنة. اللهم اصلح شباب المسلمين، اللهم اصلح شباب المسلمين. اللهم انصر المسلمين في فلسطين وانصر المسلمين في كل مكان يا أرحم الراحمين. يا الله يبنو موسى يا الله، يا الله يخلص موسى واكوزن لسه فلسطين يا الله، يا الله يخلص موسى واكوزن لسه فلسطين يا الله، يا الله وفيجل بونك بس فلسطين يا الله، يا الله وفيجل في مسجد الأقصى يا الله، يا الله فيجل في ياكوي مسجد الأقصى يا الله، يا الله وفيجل زيتني زابو يا الله، يا الله وشانزين كيسيه زيتو بمنه يا الله، يا الله وبنينكو كليزيتو amandla ya Allah ukuthi bakhona ukusukumela into eyiqiniso ya Allah. Ya Allah wenza inkokheli zomhlaba wonke jikelele ukuthi ukhona ukusukumela inkinga zabantu basePalestine ya Allah. Ya Allah indaba yasePalestine akuyona indaba yenkolo ya Allah, kodwa indaba yokuphila kwabantu ya Allah. Yehlisa umusa wakho nentethelelo yakho ezweni lasePalestine ya Allah. Wehlisa umusa wakho nentethelelo yakho ezweni lase-India ya Allah. Wehlise nomusa wakho nentethelelo yakho ya Allah ezweni lonke jikelele. Ya Allah ingane zasePalestine ya Allah, intandane ya Allah, abafelokazi ya Allah, siyababeka bonke abasemajele wasePalestine ya Allah, sibabeka bonke abasemajele wasePalestine ya Allah, nabo bonke ababhekanye nama-hunger strikes ya Allah. Ya Allah wehlisa umusa wakho ya Allah, ya Allah ubapha amandla ukuthi baphume kulamajele ya Allah, babuyele emiphakathini yabo ya Allah. Ya Allah siyababeka bonke abaseyibhedlela ya Allah, ya Allah yehlisa umusa wakho ukuthi balulame ya Allah, babuye bayohlangana nemindeni yabo ya Allah. Ya Allah kunabantu abalahlekelwe imindeni yabo ya Allah, abangakase baphinde basababona ya Allah. Ya Allah yehlisa umusa wakho yobathoba inhliziyo ya Allah. Ya Allah ufikele usisi wethu Abir ya Allah, ya Allah umufikele kukho konke ya Allah. Ya Allah wenze neinkokheli azobahlangana nazo ya Allah, kube yinkokheli ezoba usizo kwindaba yasePalestine ya Allah. Umufikele ya Allah kumamenemene esinawo emphakathini yethu ya Allah. Ya Allah umufikele kumamenemene esinawo emhlabeni jikelele ya Allah. Ya Allah busisa ya Allah neSalam Media ya Allah. Ya Allah ubusise ya Allah neSalam Media ya Allah. Ya Allah ubusise nomuntu owahlanganisa noSister Abir ya Allah, umahum Gangat ya Allah. Ya Allah, ya Allah wehlisa umusa wakho ethuneni lakhe ya Allah, wehlisa umusa wakho nakuwo wonke amathuna wamasotsha ya Allah. Ya Allah amasotsha alokuphakamisa igama lakho ya Allah. Ya Allah sisebenzise sonke ya Allah, usisebenzise for ukuyokhulula izwe lasePalestine ya Allah, usisebenzise ukuyokhulula iMasjid Al-Aqsa ya Allah, usisebenzise ya Allah ukuthuthukisa imiphakathi yethu ya Allah. iMasjid Al-Aqsa ya Allah iphumelele ngezandla zethu ya Ya Allah. Ya Allah, let musawa kesun lagit, Ya Allah. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inna kunna min al-zalimin. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين